Welcome back to Channels Business Global with me, Juliana Olayinka, from our studios here in London. In a moment, I'll be speaking with Malaya Tabore, but before then, here's some company news for you. Two prominent casinos in Sydney, Australia have agreed to make their gaming operations cashless in a bid to stamp out money laundering. The move comes after an inquiry earlier this year found it was likely that significant criminal activity had occurred at Crown Resorts casinos, owned by Australia's billionaire businessman James Packer. At the time, regulators ruled that the country's largest gaming and entertainment group was unsuitable for a gambling licence. Crown has since been under immense pressure to reform its operations. The group have also agreed to stop bringing in international high rollers, and they will prohibit indoor smoking. China's once-in-a-decade census has shown that the population of the mainland stands at 1.41 billion people as of November 1st, 2020, marking the slowest growth rate since the 1950s. The country's National Bureau of Statistics Commissioner attributed the decline primarily to a continued drop in the number of women of childbearing age, a delay in giving birth, and rising costs of raising children. Chinese mothers gave birth to 12 million babies in 2020, down 22% from the previous year. Observers believe the controversial one-child policy, abolished in 2015, is still driving the growth decline in the world's most populous country. Significant fuel shortages have emerged on America's East Coast as panic buying by motorists has drained filling stations. Earlier in the week, the governor of North Carolina declared a state of emergency, and there are reports of petrol stations running out of fuel in Georgia, Florida, Alabama, and South Carolina. The frenzy is linked to the shutdown of the Colonial Pipeline following a ransomware attack last weekend. Colonial transports 2.5 million barrels of fuel a day and is the source of nearly half the US East Coast fuel supply. At one point, the price of petrol shot up to its highest level in nearly 7 years. Now to our next topic. COVID-19 has prompted widespread growth in sub-Saharan e-commerce, accelerated due to the global lockdowns. Some of the concerns about online shopping on the continent, though, include the high cost of broadband, limited digital training, and a traditional preference of cash. However, e-commerce in the region saw significant success last year, suggesting that growth in this field could be sustained going forward. For more on this, I'm now being joined by Malaya Tabore, the CEO of Africrea and the founder of the all-in-one e-commerce solution platform, Anchor. He joins me now from Abidjan. Malaya Tabore, thank you so much for joining me on Channels Business Global. Despite the shift online in the global north and obviously the pickup during the pandemic, sub-Saharan Africa still has the largest informal economy in the world. How are you going to make web payments and the monetization of this sector accessible to all?
Thank you for having me today. And yes, making it accessible goes in for two ways. First, we need to allow everyone and anyone to have access to, yes, global methods of payment for the buyers, but also local African methods for the sellers. So because the idea for us is to try to get both worlds to meet through our wallet that we offer on Africrea and Anchor, both our services. Any seller can provide links to buyers on WhatsApp, Instagram, or their social media, or their website to pay globally with any cards or method they want, but they can withdraw the money either using our Visa cards or using local payment methods like mobile banking in Nigeria, M-Pesa in Kenya, or Orange Money in West Africa, for example.
Absolutely, I know.
So that's the first step, I think, is to bridge the two types of payment solutions together.
Absolutely. E-commerce logistics have definitely evolved. I think Africrea are a testament to that. You don't have to fear when you're buying online in Africa anymore. But of course, there are still hurdles. What are some of those hurdles that Anchor have faced over the past couple of months?
I guess, like you said, on the Anchor side, I think the next couple of months was especially challenging with Brexit, for example, because a big part of where we ship and our sellers sell is in the UK. So Brexit introduced a level of complexity with customs and controls that were not there yet. But thankfully, with our partner DHL, we were able to help get most of our sellers' packages arrive on time to the customers. And we expect that to continue during 2021, even though Europe will also have their own increased control on customs. So basically, yeah, the world is changing. Commerce is still possible, but we need to be, I might say, prepared about it, and we try to be with Anchor the best partners for anyone that wants to sell globally on all aspects.
Absolutely. I was just joking with you offline, Malaya, that you're obviously incredibly successful at the moment, no less because of the pandemic. Africrea has recorded over 500,000 visitors each month. Most of those visitors are coming from here in London, across Europe and in North America. How have consumer habits changed during the pandemic? So what were the customers like beforehand? What are they like now? And how do you expect further changes as we emerge out of lockdown? For instance, in the UK, of course, high street can't compare with online, but retail are starting to see more footfall. Some people do like to feel and touch their clothes before they buy, don't they?
Sure. There is always people that would like to rather touch before buying. Our goal is to try to get people to experience and especially to get to know the product and the story behind it before buying. On Africrea, notably, you can discuss with any seller on the platform even before buying. You have a button to talk to them, to ask any question you might have on the product story, usage, and obviously to customize it for yourself. And I feel that's a big part of the evolution of the buying online, especially during the pandemic. I felt like people were not just buying, myself, for the item itself. It was also to travel in a way, to find a way to evade from the confinement of the houses. So, when you buy African products, you get a part of Africa that you can represent. And you get the chance at your next Zoom meeting to show out with your beautiful clothing. And I feel like, although we had a lot of houseware and comfort wear during the pandemic, going much global, mask, obviously, for security, now that the lockdowns are easing up, traveling is coming back, I feel like this summer is going to be another outing summer. So we're going to go back to beautiful clothing that are breathing, colorful, probably like a lot of skirts, a lot of bright T-shirts, or of course, all the accessories that goes with it, to cover your hair or anything else. So pretty much, I hope we'll get back to a new normal, but thankfully, due to COVID, people now are more comfortable to buying without seeing, as long as they get the guarantee that they will receive their product and they can get an understanding of what they're buying it from and who they're buying it from.
Absolutely. Bit of a PhD question. I apologise in advance, Malaya, but what is the vision of e-commerce in Africa? What is your vision? Because I know a lot of CEOs have changed their visions because of the pandemic. They've had to, scratch their heads and come up with a new plan.
Ours became more clear, I might say. From the beginning with Africrea, our goal was to make African culture just as popular as Japanese food or Latin culture with dancing, for example. That's the target, that's the goal. Africrea was the first step into it. And with Anchor.Africa, we realized that sellers needed more support, and that the pandemic showed that. Like you asked me originally, they need support in getting payments. So thanks to our services, sellers can, even on WhatsApp, get someone to pay them from anywhere in the world, and then withdraw the money locally on the means they prefer. And the next step, like you said, is to fix the other issues. Shipping was the issue that everybody talked about. Now, thankfully, to DHL and the big community of sellers we have in the 47 of 54 African countries we are in, we get the best prices to ship anywhere in the world, probably better than if you were in the West. And I think it's going to keep growing. Anchor is going to keep saving our sellers time, energy, and money. And if the African sellers manage to be the more efficient and the more reactive and more connected to the world, they're going definitely to take the global commerce scene by storm. That's the goal for us.
Saving time, energy and money. Who wouldn't buy into that? Malaya Tabore, Africrea CEO and co-founder, as well as the founder of the new venture Anchor. Thanks so much for joining me on Channel's Business Global.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.